And with that, welcome to our top rope spoilers for NXT Great American Bash coming up this Sunday. It's been a little bit since we've last joined you, so thank you so much for taking the time to come see us for a little bit. This is On the Ring Apron. I'm Steve.
I'm Kia. Alyssa.
And we also have a new small tiny co-host who's joining us now. So this is Zorro. We can't really control what he does right now, so he's going to kind of be in and out. So if you hear any mewing, that's probably what it is. And please share the cuteness. That's what we ask. But anyway, thank you so much again for joining us here. It's been a couple of weeks since we last did Money in the Bank and saw the Bloodline Civil War and where that's leading to. Of course, we'll be live at SummerSlam here next week, live from Detroit. So maybe we'll do a show and something special there. But I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited to get back on the road a little bit.
Yeah, me too. A little bit.
You can tell they're tired from work, but it's okay.
It's a long day.
But for those of you who have joined us before, first of all, welcome back. And as you can see, Kia down in the chat, she's going to be kind of our moderator as we go along. So if you see her on her phone, it means she's going to message and respond to anything that potentially you guys have to say, or by all means, give us your thoughts on the matches we're going to talk about. You can see the scoreboard on our screen here. Right now, Kia's still holding the edge after Money in the Bank. Alyssa's staying right with her, staying within 3. The OTRA's picking up a point on both. So they've closed the gap to 1 of Alyssa and 4 of Kia. And I'm still kind of trailing behind. This looks like a standard marathon. You know, I'm going to be in the back somewhere.
The street sweepers?
That's it. I'm trying to beat the street sweepers, okay? The street sweepers are trying not to suck me up as we go backwards. But we move into Great American Bash being held this upcoming Sunday in Kia's hometown of Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
We did try to make it, but ultimately wasn't able to do this trip. So we'll have a little bit of fun with it, but we're going to shut off the scoreboard here and go ahead and get to our first match. Again, we want you guys interactive in the chat, so if you happen to see an opportunity to jump in here and give us your picks on any match, please feel free to join in. We'll answer some comments if we see them, but otherwise, let's have a good time. Moving into our first match, get that off the screen there. And let's move to our first one, which has already been announced to be the pre-show match. And that is going to be an 8-person intergender or mixed tag team match, as you're going to have the team of Metaphor. Love that name. Noam Dar.
Noam Dar, you have.
Oh, that's Oma something or.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Lash Legend and
Jakara Jackson. I love Jakara. She got the greatest abs in the business. But taking on the team of the true NXT Heritage Cup champion, there's been some debate on that. That's Nathan Frazier. Teaming with Dragon Lee, you also get Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon. So, again, this is going to be on the pre-show. It got jumped in here at the last second. Let me fire up the countdown here because, if we don't, we won't stay on track. But ultimately, we've seen this long-standing battle for the Heritage Cup. Of course, Noam is the one who brought it over to NXT from UK when the UK brand ended up being shut off. Ultimately, he would defend it a couple of times, inevitably lose to Nathan Frazier, who currently is holding the championship and has since kind of gone into like this depressive state to where you can't really get much out of him. The rest of his members of Metaphor trying to snap him out of it. But ultimately, now there's debate as to, because of the fact that Mensah was the one who actually lost the Heritage Cup on his behalf against Nathan Frazier. Now Noam believing he never lost it. So eventually there's going to have to be some finalization on that. Feroz and Leon ultimately being part of this because they were in the corners of both Frazier and Lee when Frazier defended against Dragon Lee. So they continue to be a thorn in the side of Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. So, again, it's pre-show, and I'd argue that's probably where it should be in comparison to the rest of the card. But I open up the floor. Kia, you've got the lead, so we'll let you have the opening words.
I'm not going to sit here and say too much on this. I know there's one team that I'm pulling for and another team that I'm not. Lash Legend, Jakara, and the fellas, because that's what I'm going to say. I feel like that is the most annoying team, in my opinion.
That's why we love them.
Speak for yourself. I like the other team, which for me, the other team I feel like is very strong, very dominant. No one's depressed. No one should be going into obscurity when it comes to this. And I feel like, honestly, with all respect, I feel like Noam Dar can pull a Seth Rollins. Remember when Seth Rollins went into that state of he walked around zombified, you couldn't pull him out of it, and then at some point he just kind of snapped. I feel like that's where Noam Dar is headed. You keep pushing him or Brett that the whole not being able to have his baby, which is his cup, which he's gloated about for several years because he's had it. I feel like at some point Nathan Frazier is going to push him a little too far, and like Rey Mysterio did Seth, and he's going to snap, and it's going to be the worst snap I think you would see outside of what Seth did.
All I'm saying is, and just a little word on that, I'm just saying 3 years ago, Seth Rollins knocked out Rey Mysterio's eyeball in a match, and now they're hugging in Mexico City if you've been looking at their social media. I'm just saying, guys can forgive each other after a while. Women are the ones that sit here and, y'all can go into rivalries for seemingly ever.
Okay. When it comes to me and Alyssa, no. We sit down and we eat it out, and it's worth the room. It's my ice cream buddy, my wing buddy, my foodie partner.
Ooh, wing buddy. Period. Don't be mentioning food on here right now. We got dinner cooking in the other room, so we will be happily moving on to dinner time when we wrap this up.
Now,
go ahead.
Now at this point, I can see me and Alyssa now. We're not going to be battling each other. We're going to be battling every other person.
Look at that. The glasses are down and everything. Look at them both. Alyssa, your thoughts on this one?
Okay, so I'll just keep this one brief as well. I think Metaphor is a hilarious name. We'll start with that. I like how they put Metaphor. Hilarious. And then watching, how they were trying to snap Noam Dar out of his little funk last night was so funny because he's just sitting there like, excuse the smell.
He lost his baby.
I mean, I'd be sad if I lost my baby too.
The little furry baby?
Yeah. But anyway, back to it. And then you have Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee, and then the two respective ladies. I mean, I'm not familiar with the ladies wrestling.
They've been around, but you haven't seen a ton of storyline. Mm-hmm. One of them was injured for a little while. Okay. I think it was Valentina was injured for a while. Actually, I think I had that backwards. I think it was Leon that was hurt. But ultimately, they were definitely a team that would have been a good competitor for, say, the women's tag team titles. Okay. Of course, they don't exist in NXT anymore, so that's kind of a bummer. Plate Exchange is very sad about that. But ultimately, they're trying to put their feet in, and you ultimately have another team with Legend and Jackson that provide a nice ring to them.
Okay. Well, I look forward to kind of getting more familiar with them because that's not really... I haven't really seen them, so I can't really speak on them as a team. But, I mean, from what I hear, they sound good, so I look forward to that. And also, I really have enjoyed watching Dragon Lee. Like, whenever he comes out, I know I'm about to see something crazy, so I look forward to that.
That has been one of the better signings that NXT's had in a while. Bravo, H, and Sean. Entering the final minute, so it's time for us to make our official picks. We saw the scoreboard earlier. Kia, you're in the lead, so you get to open things up. Who you got?
The not group, not known as Metaphor.
You're just going to be silly about this.
Sure.
There we go. So taking Frazier and Dragon. All right. Alyssa?
I also like Dragon Lee and Nathan Frazier to go ahead and handle business.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like they'll get it done.
We took a look at the chart, and for those of you who have joined us before, and even those that aren't, we also do put a community page on our YouTube, same at the on the ring apron, where you can actually be able to cast your votes. I did take a look just before we went on here, and I think it was 77% right now is with Frazier and Dragon Lee as well. So the OTRAs putting in their votes early, still a long way to go. It doesn't become official until we get there. I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going to go Metaphor on this one. I think if you're going to build this team up to kind of be a stable in your group, I think that you need to give them a win. I think perhaps an underhanded one. Maybe Noam does something behind the scenes, or the ladies, bring back out the bucket or something. But I'll be the one that goes off, and I'll take Metaphor.
All right.
Cool. So reset our timer here. We're gonna try to move a little bit swifter here through all of this.
I was going to say, the one thing that Metaphor does provide is that extra sense of humor, so I'll enjoy it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So now we move into our second match. This one also just added to Great American Bash yesterday, and that is the official debut of Gable Steveson. no idea why that is that small. We're gonna stretch that out there just a little bit, but there we go. But ultimately, they've been, there's been a lot of debate back and forth in terms of, Steveson, of course, the big signing of NXT in WWE a couple of years ago, was drafted in the first round to Monday Night Raw, but then never appeared on Raw. And he's been just kind of sitting there trying to figure out what does he want to do, and now we're sitting, a year from the Olympics, where he has an opportunity to retain his wrestling gold medal. And now was, had to make a decision as to whether he was going to go compete to try to win gold again in the Olympics, or whether he was going to try to go ahead and sign with NXT. Of course, finally making his decision official yesterday that he is going to sign with NXT, and immediately he was confronted by the Lone Wolf, the Constable, whatever version of him you want to go with, Baron Corbin. Corbin, of course, we last saw him when he was defeated in what was a Match of the Year candidate with Carmelo Hayes a couple of weeks ago. So now we're seeing if Corbin can be able to rebound. Gable's been the one that's been talked up for well over 2 years now. I think, possibly the tail end of COVID might have thrown a bit of that off. But at the end of the day, he's here, and we're going to see what he has to bring to the WWE roster. Of course, you see former Olympians like Kurt Angle, of course, Chad Gable, definitely. Jason Jordan was as well when he was still here. So big things expected from Gable, but Alyssa, I know you haven't seen much of Gable, but you kind of know what Baron brings to the table. Any thoughts on this one?
I was about to say, I was just going to give y'all an update on how I feel about Baron. I'm really enjoying where they're taking this man, like how they're building him up a little bit. I mean, I hate they had to lose to Carmelo, but even in that loss, he looked really good.
He did.
Like, I remember when I started watching, he was Happy Corbin. He was Happy Corbin, and I was just like, I don't understand why. I'm not going to say I don't understand why he wrestles, but I was like, I really felt like his character was a joke. And then y'all started talking about, like, the lone wolf persona, about how he was in, like, NXT, and how he would come out there and just smash folks and then go on because he don't get paid by the hour.
Exactly.
He gets paid for the match. So I've really enjoyed seeing him kind of move back towards that. As far as
Gable.
Yeah. As far as Gable goes, again, I don't really know much about him. I know he made a little appearance like when I first started watching, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, I like him. He looks pretty." And then I never saw this man again, so I was like, "Oh." But now he's back, so there you go.
Well, he's got big shoes to fill because of the previous wrestlers, the amateur wrestlers such as, we've talked Chad Gable, Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
A former NCAA champion, who have all come in and then been successful in the professional world as well. So, Kia, we shift to you. You look at someone like a Gable Steveson who comes with that amateur background and the success it comes with. Now, how can he evolve that into the world of NXT?
I feel like his background is going to help him a long way. It's not just, for me, it's not about the looks and how, he looks and the way he's built. It's more of what can he do in the ring? Can he take what he did from his other career and move it into wrestling and kind of shift? And if he could shift it, how is it going to better benefit and suit him when it comes to Corbin, knowing that Corbin is getting back to being a lone wolf, being who he was before, so forth and so on. I feel like he's tough mentally, because in the Olympics you have to be mentally tough because you're always training, you're always working, you're always pushing yourself to get to that next level. So I feel like this is going to suit him for wrestling, NXT, main roster, Raw, SmackDown, where he's going to push and push and push. And I feel like it's going to be really hard to knock him down, but with Baron across from him, if Baron is still going to stick to this lone wolf persona, I feel like Baron will be one of the few people to knock him down. And I can see Steveson getting back up and say, okay, he's knocked me down. Okay, he's not a joke. He's not playing. Let me get up. Let me continue to push myself to the next level. Let me just kind of build and build and build until I can actually topple him or take him out.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, is that in the world of professional wrestling, definitely a different animal than that of amateur wrestling. So Steveson will definitely face a very different challenge because not only do you have, of course, the amateur background, of course he has the athleticism, the speed, the power, all of that stuff, but now you also have to add that somewhat flair and entertainment value as well. And the one thing that I think was held against Steveson when he first got here, as well as Corbin when he first got started, was the fact that it was a lot of a lot of flash, but not a ton of flair, you know. And for Corbin, you didn't really need it, you know. His character was fine without it. But Steveson, you know, has already been kind of portrayed off as boring, has been kind of portrayed off as he's going to be very dull to watch, and he's going to have to break that persona. And he gets his first opportunity in Austin this upcoming Sunday. We move to our picks here in the final minute, pick 2. So Alyssa starts things off.
I feel like if you're making a debut, you kind of have to go out there and like put on a good show. You know, so I like Gable to go ahead and get his first win, kind of get that little flair out there, give him an opportunity to see how he builds.
Right. I'm going to try to do my best to remember the OTRA ones as we go through here because I can't say I remember them all, but I know Steveson had a pretty decent size advantage for the OTRAs entering this one. I'm going Steveson as well. I think you've invested too much time and money into him to have him lose at the beginning. He's not going to go on one of these, 4-year undefeated runs, but I do like Steveson here.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna jump ship, and I'm going to pick Corbin to literally take Stevenson to his limits, and I feel like, again, he don't get paid by the hour, he gets paid by the match, and because he lost to Carmelo, I feel like that loss would have given him some clarity for this victory that he's going to get, when this match comes up.
All right,
so I'm pulling for Corbin.
I like the twist on that one. I do like the direction that one's heading.
Thank you.
So far, two matches down, a couple of surprise, I guess you could call them upset picks. So I guess by definition, you have to pick the next upset. We'll see. We will see if that happens. Let's move on to match 3. This is our only match that has a special stipulation, and that is a weapons wild match coming up between bitter rivals now in Roxanne Perez and Blair Davenport. We ended up finding out a couple of weeks ago that ultimately it was Blair Davenport that was attacking all the people backstage, attacking Nikita Lyons and injuring her, putting Wendy Chu on the shelf for several months. Of course, after making her official debut, getting a shot at both the NXT Women's and the NXT UK Women's titles at Worlds Collide a few months ago. But ultimately, it has been Roxanne Perez, normally the very perky prodigy, who has all of a sudden found her dark side, has found her thing saying, Blair, we're not okay with this, and has unleashed a side of her that I'm not sure a lot of us that watch in NXT knew she had capable of her. And I like the reenactment last night of redoing Booker T and Steve Austin's fight through the grocery stores. They fought through, I believe, a gas station.
Yeah.
But ultimately Roxanne has been one step ahead of Blair at virtually every turn. And as a result, you're seeing her saying, like, look, you want to sit here and you want to attack other people behind their backs. You want to come from behind. How do you like it when somebody's doing it to you? What happens when there's always a person where you always have to look over your shoulder? And Roxy has brought the fight in Blair and lately has been beating her in her own game.
I feel like Blair took the coward's way out, and as a female, I would face it head on because that's just who I am. I know that's who Alyssa is. And when you take the coward's way out the way that Davenport has, it says a lot about who you are. It says you cannot do things full speed going ahead. You have to get one up on them, but they're going to have their back turned. Now, Roxanne, if she continues to do what she's doing, I feel like even though her and Jade are no longer friends and they're no longer talking, I feel like she's going to channel Jade and how Jade, will do the same thing. Okay, well, you decide to attack me, I'm going to come behind you, I'm going to attack you. I think she's going to have kendo sticks. I think she's going to have a chair. I think she's going to have her own little dark image spitting self, but she's going to be... I feel like she's going to make Jade proud, even though Jade might not say anything. But this following Blair through where she goes, giving her a taste of her own medicine, I feel like Blair needs that. And I feel like if anybody's going to deliver that, I feel like it should be Roxanne.
Right. And ultimately, the only thing I think that a lot of the NXT universe is concerned about with Roxanne is the fact that even if, let's say, she does win on Sunday, have we lost the Roxanne that we knew prior to this, or is she capable of being able to come back from the choices she's made after this? Because in the heel world of wrestling, sometimes once you felt that dark power, it's hard to come back from that.
I was about to say, me personally, I would love to see a heel Roxanne. I don't know.
I'm saying that renders doing things for me.
I would love to see a heel Roxanne. I mean, she's been known as like the little goody two shoes, the one who sits there and just gets run over by Cora and all that. And I'm just like, I'm seeing her turn around like, absolutely not. Let's go. And bravo to her for whooping that girl behind in the store. I'm talking about throwing her through. My favorite part was when she threw her over there by the little cooler or by the little drink thing, and she just opened the little door, said boop. Me and Steve said, oh.
just hit her with the freezer door. Oh.
That's crazy. But yeah, I love that. That girl energy bigger than she is, and I'm here for it. Period.
So it's this one has been fun to watch, and as Kia stated earlier, or alluded to, Blair needs that one person to kind of feed off of, and if Blair is going to come in as this person who is like, full darkness, full, mystery and everything else, her complete foil has been Roxanne Perez, but then she's now all of a sudden realized, as so many heels do over their time, that perhaps you've kind of ticked off the wrong young lady, and we've seen Roxanne tap into that darker side in that in matches against Cora Jade several months ago, and when ultimately she needed to dig deeper to hold on to the NXT Women's title early in the year. But now you're seeing a very stronger dark side in terms of Perez, and it's curious to see if ultimately it's one of those where even if Blair loses, does she maybe still win? Because you don't know how Roxanne's going to be able to change back, after this is over. And also the flip side of that same coin, what happens if Roxanne goes through all of this and then loses? Does that cause her to spiral even worse? So a Roxy Cora reunion may not be far off. It just wasn't the way I think we imagined it. Hitting the final minute here, so time to make our picks. Again, this is Weapons Wild, so anything goes, anything can be used as a weapon. And in a match like that, I think that you've invested too much in this turn for you to put it there. I don't think that, I think this will be one that a lot of it's going to be controlled by Davenport, but in the last 6 months I've learned that if your chips are on the table and everything else, you don't bet against Roxanne Perez, especially if you've got weapons and whatnot. And Blair, I don't think, has a lot of friends backstage, so I'm going to go with Roxanne.
That's great. I feel like I'm going to have to take Davenport. I know I said she's taking the cowardly way out, or the cowardly way out, and like taking everybody down and being backstabby and like so forth and so on. But I feel like maybe she was getting into everybody's head for them to actually feel that way, but got to Roxanne, and like you said, Roxanne's going to probably spiral if she doesn't win, which I feel like that's what Davenport was wanting, so I feel like that's going to give her the edge that she needs to actually succeed in this match.
So you're going Blair?
Yes.
All right. Listen.
I'm also going to go Roxanne, just because I feel like this has been in the making. It started with Cora turning on her, then losing her title, going through all her mental stuff. I feel like it was just a build-up. And also, I feel like this is getting ready to get her ready for like main roster stuff, because you can't see little baby face.
You saw Bailey.
Yeah.
You saw how Bailey tried to come in as, as goody two shoes. I can't turn heel, and she almost got to a point where she snapped.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen her go back since.
So I think this is just the building stones to get ready to see her.
I like it.
main roster.
I like that run of thought there. So to Roxanne, I know Roxanne had an edge the last time I saw the vote, but it wasn't as far as you thought it was. Blair was actually picking up some pretty decent, was staying right with her. So we'll see if that one continues up. So let's reset the clock here, and ultimately we now move to the back half of our live event. Of course, this is Great American Bash at Austin, Texas this upcoming Sunday. All 4 of our remaining matches are our 4 title matches, and we will open with our first one, which is for, which way do we go? That way. And that is going to be for the NXT Tag Team Championships. as we will see the current incumbent champions, the Gallus boys, Coffee and Wolfgang, challenged by the D'Angelo family of Tony D'Angelo, and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. So, the storyline, very simply put, this title match was supposed to happen several months ago. Ultimately, Gallus ends up working out a plan that ultimately gets the Don framed for a crime he didn't commit. He gets put in jail. Reality is he's rehabbing an injury. He ends up Lorenzo ends up doing a little bit of detective work, a little bit of rat work in terms of getting inside the minds of Gallus, working out deals with them, but inevitably working it out to where he was able to convince or able to get Gallus to admit that that D'Angelo was not guilty of the crime they had accused him of, and he ultimately defeats Coffee to earn D'Angelo's freedom. They're now back and immediately demanding the tag team title match that they should have been given months ago. This one has been a fantastic character building time for Lorenzo, because he was, the underboss. He was supposed to be the second in command, very similar to the Jey Uso of the bloodline in terms of, certainly a smaller story. But Lorenzo has been the star of this story every step of the way, and it'll be curious to see if the underboss can ultimately be the one that brings gold to the family now that he's got the Don back. Right now, seems like loyalty's still in play, but Lorenzo proved that he'll do what he has to do to get the job done, even if that means necessarily not going with what the Don says. So, Alyssa, we'll start with you. Looking at the D'Angelo family and where they're standing, it seems like they're going in with quite the advantage right now.
I was about to say, watching, I was kind of asleep on them. I'm not going to lie. Watching them, at first, I was kind of just like, okay, this is cute. Why are y'all putting these two together? But, watching the story unfold and seeing how Stacks has gone to bat and, weaseled his way through to get what he needs done. And then also just watching, their match last night, how they were just able to go, even with people who were twice their size, and just sit there and beat up on them. I was like, good grief. I finally saw them as a tag team. I was slow to it, I'm not gonna lie. But I finally saw them as a tag team that was just they were like a well-oiled machine. There was one moving, the other one coming back, and it was they were just, their energy was matching. It was great to watch. And
that's with the Don having sat out for a few months. He specifically requested the match because he wanted to get rid of what he called jail rust.
Right.
So, it's good to see that, because, you're taking on easily one of the toughest teams we've seen hold NXT Gold in the Gallus boys, who have found a way to not just be on top, but stay on top for quite some time. And they're willing to do it by dismantling their opponents, or they're willing to do it necessarily by crook if they need to. Of course, with the other Coffee brothers still standing on the side, it certainly, plays with the numbers advantage in favor of Gallus, as well as probably the strength side. But, again, momentum seems to ride with the D'Angelo family right now. Kia, your thoughts?
First of all, I'm going to go on the record. I like me some Stacks. I've said this from day one. 2, I was in shock when one of the Gallus boys actually went to visit the Don in prison and was letting him hear the recording that had happened. I'm like, I can't believe how Stacks would turn on someone that has taken him underneath his wing and has been, has shown him structure, discipline, has helped him. But then, it's like something don't feel right with this. I feel like he's doing some detective work, but I really couldn't tell. He made it look authentic, like he was actually with the Gallus boys, and they believed it too, because, it was what it was. With that being said, I've always believed they're a well-oiled machine. They've just been a little bit slower to me in that. But you also look at who you're facing. You're facing the Gallus boys. Who we going to really put up against them to go up against them and take them down? That's a general question.
Exactly. And I think the one team that was in NXT that I think you could have legitimately put out power for power is the team that just left. That's Diamond Mine, who appears destined for the main roster here in the coming weeks. But, as I said, to open this segment, Lorenzo has been the one that his character development has been phenomenal, and the way the storyline has been written, where you believe for weeks that Lorenzo was, as the Don called him, a rat, and had turned on the Don and was the reason he was in jail and everything else, only to end up finding out that he was secretly doing what he needed to do, as a true underboss does, to ensure that, the Don gets out of prison and gets this shot. And now here is the title shot that they've been waiting on. We'll see if it pays off with gold. We're back to match 4, so we're spinning back around to Kia. Who do you have taking home the gold from Austin?
I feel like the Gallus boys will retain, now knowing what they know and seeing what they have seen. And, obviously, if they have a third person, that third person is going to benefit because they do have the numbers game. So I'm going with the Gallus boys. They're strong, they're fearless, they're competitive, and they've always been a well-oiled machine who has had nothing to lose.
Okay. Alyssa?
I'm going to flip. Here's my flip.
Here's your flip.
Here's my one risk. I'm going to go with the Don and Stacks. Again, watching them last night in their match, I've never seen them like that before. I feel like they have the momentum right now, and hey, you can't argue with momentum, so I'm going to take them.
That's it. This one was one, the voting when I last looked was pretty heavy behind the D'Angelo family at this current time. I, however, am going to go with Gallus as well. I think that the storyline has been well written. I still think there's maybe one more rug to pull out from under someone's feet. I don't know if maybe the Don was trying to test the loyalty of Lorenzo, or maybe Lorenzo maybe really is a rat. But, the Gallus boys have already proven that they have the capability of being able to find a way to get it done. I think, I'm not going to be mad if the D'Angelo family wins, but I am going to go with Gallus as well. I've been pulling for them since they got to NXT nearly a year ago. I'm not going to get off that train now. Really? That one?
Toot-toot.
There we go. So moving to our 5th match of the night, it will be for the NXT Women's Championship, so that'll be in this direction. Uh-oh. Yes, he has full hands already. But this is a submission match, and again, it is for the NXT Women's title. Would you like to hold?
I can, yeah.
Excellent. As the current incumbent champion, Miss Tiffy Tuesday, Tiffany Stratton will, for the second time, defend her NXT Women's Championship against Chase University's Thea Hale. These two have already gone head-to-head once, with Thea Hale coming really, really close, but ultimately Tiffany being able to escape out with the victory over Hale. But since then, that Kimura lock that continues to get taught to Hale has continued to get stronger and stronger. We have seen multiple instances with Tiffany tapping out to Thea's Kimura lock, and also remembering that Tiffany's strength is by fly and by pinfall, not necessarily by submission. So from every standpoint, despite the experience advantage going with Stratton, Thea, you would think in a submission match, is going to have the upper hand here. Let's see exactly if Tiffany can find ways when she has to go outside her norm to be able to hold on to victory and hold on to gold. The progression of Thea Hale has been one that we have thoroughly enjoyed. It's been fun watching her maybe be a little over the top eccentric, and we've got 2 kids who have about that same energy level. But ultimately, it's been fun to see her progression, but I really do feel like this is the match that it's either make or break for Hale. Either she's going to win the title this time, or I feel like she kind of falls back into the group, and Tiffany at that stage is going to get a new challenger. So we'll see, manage to see how things ultimately end up panning out. Kia, will open with you for this one. Your thoughts on either direction?
I love Thea. I feel like Thea, even with her being over the top, eccentric, out there, wild, and like just maybe that's what she wants people to see. Maybe that's what she wants people to focus on. And in reality, she's in the back. She's trained like a beast, and she's training hard, and she's doing everything that she's being taught by everyone to give her that edge. Again, Tiffany, like you said, doesn't have the advantage of being in submission, so I feel like this match kind of favors Thea right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tiffany, I don't see it favoring her in any facet at all, unless she's going off and she's actually having to learn from someone who could teach her and prepare her for this match this weekend. Don't get me wrong, it's taken me some time to get used to her, and I'm really still not used to her. But the fact that she is a champion, and I feel like she's trying to do the champion thing, and that's to defend, even if she's making fun of the people that come across from her, which is Thea for this present moment. So yeah.
Alrighty. So, we've had good conversation about Thea. Of course, most of this training coming at the hands of Duke Hudson. While Andre Chase was out, Andre now back. And you're seeing that the two of them, maybe still not exactly on the same page, but definitely their teaching styles are very different, but it seems like Hale has been the person that has picked up the most. However, what we've also seen from Tiffany is about 6 months of pretty decent dominance in terms of defending in the women's division. She's not afraid to tell everyone in the division that she is the best. She's, if she's going to go out, she's going to go out on with her chest out and her sword, and go down on her sword. But at the end of the day, she hasn't exactly made a ton of friends, and Thea almost seems like she's taking this one personally, because Tiffany has kind of poked the fun at her, being the little barking chihuahua a little more than everyone else. Does Tiffany have that right mindset in terms of her confidence level, or does, Thea legitimately have the bite to match the bark this time?
I was about to say, I think the training has definitely taken Thea a long way. I feel like at first, before all the help and training, she really was just just kind of over there in the background. You see her in the corner. And I think the training has taken her a long way. Also, on the flip side, I like how Tiffany is like a good heel. I cannot stand her.
But that's what you
Oh,
want.
dear Lord. But that is exactly what she is supposed to be. So I feel like even with it being a submission thing, that girl is done. She's weaseled her way through everything else. I feel like she'll find a way.
She'll find a way to weasel through
I
this
feel
one
like
as
she
well.
will find a way. So, yeah.
So that's exactly it. And again, you look at the fact that this is only Tiffany's, I believe, her third defense of the title. Since winning it at in the finals after Indy Hartwell had to give it up to go to the main roster. But you look at her progression as well as Thea's. These have easily been the two that have progressed the most, maybe short of Roxanne and Lyra as well.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, this is the proper place to settle this one once and for all, and to also add a bit of a stipulation to it as well, I think, to give Thea more of a puncher's chance of being able to pull this one off, I think plays well. Final 40 seconds here. Alyssa, you're opening this one. Who goes home women's champ?
I still see Tiffany retaining. I don't know how. It's going to be some hook and crooked submission, but I think it's Tiffany.
Yeah. I still look at the state of the women's division, and I still think there's a lot more stories to tell when it comes to Stratton. I think Thea's has been fun to watch, and I think she's progressed way further than I think a majority of us would. But this is Stratton's match to lose. I think she retains as well.
I don't like her. I really don't. But as much as I love Thea, and it's taken me a lot to get on board behind Thea, I feel like there's more that Thea could learn that she doesn't already know. So I feel like Stratton, just because she may not have the advantage, like Alyssa stated, I'm going to piggyback, she's going to find a way. She's going to hook and crook, and she gonna make it look good, as she would say, giving her some kind of credit. But Tiffany Stratton, still retained.
And this was one that I think you can feel like the vote is a lot closer than it was. I think a lot of the OTRAs want to pick Hale, but in this one, I think they're taking the choice that just looks more obvious. And we certainly know NXT head and heart exactly. NXT definitely known for swerving, so but I believe when I last looked at it, I think Tiffany was still ahead. But again, subject to change. Two to go.
I also feel like, and it's nothing against Chase U because I'm always behind them. I feel like Duke and Chase are going to have their own underlying problem like they're going to do now, and they're going to kind of let that erupt over into the match, which will distract Thea, in my opinion. And she's going to lose focus, and she's going to try to get them back on the same page, while Tiffany go ahead and she retains. So that's how I can see it happening.
There you go. You still wearing the shirt? Still going to wear the shirt?
Yes.
Excellent. 'Cause remember, we do a watch along during any live event that we're at home. If we're live in person, then flip on the network. But either way, 2 to go. Let's move to our co-main event, our only multi-person championship match of the night, and it is for the North American Championship. Everyone's speaking of heels that are just absolutely getting people just erupting in terms of every time this person's on your screen, you absolutely just go ballistic. But our new North American champion, Dirty Dom, finding a way to be able to get it done. He ends up pulling the upset of the year, I would argue, up to this point. He beats and ends the 260-plus day run of Wes Lee as North American champion, takes it back to the Judgment Day where he successfully defends it twice more in the next week, and now will defend it one more time at the Great American Bash in a triple threat match against both the former champion Wes Lee as well as the, at the time, #1 contender in Mustafa Ali. Ali coming back to NXT for a kind of a second opportunity to revamp his career. But essentially, like Mustafa said in the promo yesterday, Dom, you kind of jumped the line. You needed to wait your turn. You needed to do so. And Dom is like, I finally made my family name loud. At least I think that's what he said. The crowd was very loud behind him while he was trying to talk.
Right.
And, of course, with Mommy being at ringside, Dom is more dangerous than ever. As, of course, it was with the help of the full Judgment Day that Dom won the championship in the first place. We've mentioned more times than I can count the progression that Wes Lee has shown us in the last calendar year, even before he won gold, ever since the release of Nash Carter a year and a half ago. And what an amazing progression it's been. Does this mean, of course, always begs the question now, is this a temporary run to give the Judgment Day a little more of a look, similar to what they did with Solo winning it last year, where he held it for a little while and then had to drop it? Does Wes win it back? Does it go to Mustafa without him having to beat Wes to get it? Or is Wes destined now for either a shot at the NXT Championship or potentially moving up to the main roster? So be curious to see where this pans out, but you've got right now my heel of the year defending his championship against two very likable faces. Alyssa, will open with you. Just, there's a lot to take there. Go.
Jeez. Okay, so where do we start? Mustafa, I definitely agree with him when he said Dom jumped the line. I think there's a respect there, If I'm supposed to get my next shot, then hey, take a moment. Let me get my turn. Thank you.
Exactly.
And then we'll keep on. So I definitely feel like Mustafa is justified in his being upset last night. When it comes to Wes Lee, wow, what a run. I hate that you lost.
Who saw that coming though?
I did not. Like, all the times that we've talked about this, we've always been like, he's gonna lose it on a one-on-one with like somebody like
Dijak or
right, somebody. I mean, no shot at Dom because it makes sense completely when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, that's how you end that run. So I was just like, I didn't like it, but I like the direction that it can take him because I feel like in the 250 plus days that he had the title, he made it relevant. He kept things interesting, and he always brought big energy. So I'm excited to see him go into either the big title picture or to come up to the main roster because I feel like no matter where he goes or what he holds or what he's doing, he brings that same energy. So he's like my male Bianca Belair. Whenever I see him, I get really happy. He always has really big energy, always gets the crowd going, and I love it. And then when it comes to Dom, I ain't even got nothing to say about that.
Not enough there.
No.
You hit one nail on the head, absolutely, and that is this title has been lifted big time because of Wes Lee winning it. First of all, I don't think anyone projected him winning a singles championship, let alone having an almost 300-day reign with a singles championship. Kia might have. And I can think of a few others that follow us on our social that I think would have been behind Wes as well. Mustafa, I'm just not sure exactly what he's kind of revamping, but you've seen him get involved with this whole thing with Wes Lee, and then there was a big strong boy for a little while.
Bronson?
No, that's Big Bronson Reed.
Who's Big Strong?
Tyler Bate.
Yeah.
Him. He seems like he's out to kind of just stick his nose in business where I'm not. It's like he's still trying to find his place again.
So he kind of seems like the wild card here. It seems like he's destined to be the one to take the pin in this match. So that way, Wes can either get it back without necessarily Dom having to take the loss, or Dom is able to retain without having to have that one-on-one with Wes again. But Dom is doing exactly what you want from your best heel, and that is he's getting, as you would say, asses in seats and eyes on TVs. And the fact is, when he's on the TV, people are watching.
He's getting the reaction that we want to see. You don't like him, you don't have to like him, he don't have to like you. It is what it is. But when he shows up, I feel like in all retrospect, when Roman showed up to Atlanta and he tried talking on the mic that time, and he got maybe 5 words, if that, out, this is where Dom is sitting right now. He is literally sitting in that same seat that Roman was sitting in when he showed up. Dirty Dom has come a long way. I'm loving his evolution. I love the fact that and maybe it took having to work under your dad and learn and train and prep and watch your dad all your life to get where you have to go. And as much as he says, my dad's a deadbeat, this and that, so forth and so on, that to me is storyline.
Mm-hmm.
In all respect, if y'all look at his clothing, y'all look at his outfits, the shoes, if you look at his pants, you can tell. If you look at the pants, it's like his dad's mask on his pants. I feel like the long hair is kind of suiting to Eddie Guerrero when he had long hair.
Mustafa with the shot last night, talking about you stole the 619 from your dad and the frog splash from your other dad.
Yeah. Hey now, you just mad because he got the title. But with that being said, Dom is just a very, very good heel that you love to see and you also love to hate. Now,
thank you. I said that's literally what I was about to say. You love to hate him. You feel something when he comes out, and that's the sign of a great heel.
Now, I'm probably one of the few people that saw Wesley having a long stretch with the title because he had, like Alyssa said, he has that energy. He reminds me of Kofi Kingston. That's who he reminds me of. It's the big energy, they're always happy, they're always willing to fight, they're always willing to stand up, they're always, what are you going to do when you show up, so forth and so on, and he takes on all comers. So I feel like that separation from his partner, who will not be named here out of my mouth, was probably the best thing for him. Now Mustafa, I don't understand how he's supposed to be in this picture in the first place. I don't feel like it should be a three-way match. I feel like it should be one-on-one for Wesley to get his title back from Dom, because you're already going to struggle with the Judgment Day probably giving Dom the help that he needs anyway. So that's going to be real difficult for anyone to have to face.
So let's, first of all, I'm proud of us. I'm going to say this real quick because we're already down the rabbit hole on this one. We got through 6 matches without running overtime. This is the first one we ran over. I'm proud of us for doing better in terms of staying on time because we've been known to ramble. And as you well see, it is very easy for us to do it. But hey, when it's a storyline this fun, it's hard not to. So very quickly, very little context on this one. Picks for this one. I go first because we're in match 6. I'm taking Dominik to retain.
I feel like, again, with the help of Judgment Day, I feel like Dom will retain. I feel like it'll
Triple threat means no disqualifications either.
I feel like, they're going to get involved somehow. I feel like Wesley's going to get this close, and somehow they're going to do the underhanded tactics to make sure Dom keeps that title, especially Mommy, who's not afraid to fight anyone.
Absolutely.
I was about to say I'm taking Dom as well, but I don't think it'll be Judgment Day. I think Wesley and Mustafa Ali will sit there and go at each other.
They're gonna
because they were at each other last night.
Too busy bickering at each other, and ultimately
Dom is just gonna be
in the cut.
Let's go.
And I wouldn't, and honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing that go that way either, and Dom actually wins this one kind of on his own by taking advantage of the chaos. So.
Yeah, you need that because you can't be credible if you always think building up.
Exactly. So hey, that moves us to our main event. 1 to go. Thank you so much. We're typically run about an hour on these, and that's about where we're sitting. But let's move on. And oh my goodness, what a main event do we have for this particular one? It is for the NXT Championship, as most of the WWE NXT pay-per-views are, or live events, excuse me. But that is for the NXT Championship, and that is him, the NXT Champion, Carmelo Hayes, defending his championship against former UK champion Ilja Dragunov. Now, this is not the first time we've seen Dragunov in a title match since coming back to NXT, but this is the first time that he will get a one-on-one shot at the NXT Championship. There has been an attempt, a very strong attempt by Ilja and Carmelo to try to hold that level of mutual respect. But lately, it seems like by circumstances, Trick Williams keeps getting stuck in the crossfire between the two, with finally it coming to a head yesterday as Trick says, no, that's one time too many, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to, hey, was it hit that trick or whatever, beat that trick. And ultimately, Ilja came out and beat the living tar out of, Trick for a while, with Carmelo ultimately having to take the final bullet in order to save Trick from being completely dismantled. And Ilja has straight been honest with Carmelo every step of the way. It's about respect, but at this stage, on Sunday, it's about the title. That's all I care about. And I've stated off the air, and I'm going to state it here, Ilja continues to give off that vibe of a person that the more you beat him up, the stronger he gets. You also can count on one hand the number of people who have beaten Gunther since he came to WWE, and Ilja is one of those people.
Yeah.
So we know he can take a beating and keep on ticking. Carmelo will be pushed into the deepest water that he's been in since he's become champion, maybe period. Is Ilja the one that finally Carmelo is going to be able to hang another shirt in the rafters, or is Ilja going to be too much? Alyssa, we'll start with you.
I think you just hit the nail on the head of where I was about to take this. I think this is Carmelo's biggest challenge. I mean, he's going to get some good people. Do not get me wrong. But the difference between the good people he's going up against now and Ilja is Ilja will take that beating. And he will just get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's honestly scary to watch. I'm like, what am I watching right now? That man be morphing and junk? Ain't no way. I tell you right now, motherfucker is not real.
He is not real because that man be getting beat up from left to right, down the ring, up the ring, and inside the ring, outside the ring, and he just get up and he starts yelling. Ain't no way. So yeah, so that's Ilja again. You don't see many people beat Gunther. And he just was right there with him. I'm talking about chop after chop after chop. Excuse you. Sit down.
And it just seems like it's destined that Ilja, he talks about, Carmelo says it's his dynasty versus Ilja saying it's his destiny, that he is to be champion. And, he was a fantastic champion. While in NXT UK, he was the person who gained the benefit of being the UK champion during the pandemic, so he got a very long title reign despite not a lot of defenses. And ultimately, he never lost the UK title. He had to give it up due to injury. So it's technically, he's one of those fallen champions that never really got an opportunity to get the title back due to the circumstances of the UK and how it worked out. And so he feels like he's, the paper champion that NXT needs, and Carmelo is just the last domino to fall. So now you move over to Carmelo, who is having to walk that fine line of being champion, but also he's trying to do his best to keep his friendship with Trick along the way, despite the fact that Trick wants to continue to keep getting hot-headed, and Carmelo, surprisingly, the one keeping the cool rack at the moment. But at the same time, is his friendship going to cost him his gold?
I'm glad you stated that, because that's what I'm over here sitting here thinking. Trick is great. A great hype man, a great friend.
Absolutely.
He's humorous. Everything you need that. But if you're going to lose your cool and you're going to sit here and push it to the front and literally try to take out Ilja, I only feel like that's going to upset and make him angry and infuriate Ilja enough to the point where this man already likes getting beat up, likes getting knocked down, likes getting pushed around. What other person do you know that could take that type of beating, literally get stepped on, get back up, and go for it? I feel like Ilja is a shark in the water that will literally take your whole entire life and won't think nothing about it. Because nothing affects him. And when you have someone that nothing affects you, that is the most dangerous person to be in the ring with. But when it comes to Carmelo, I feel like that calmness that he has, the fact that he's trying to get Trick to get in line and fall in line, I feel like Trick needs to go ahead and take those words of wisdom, and I feel like he needs to go ahead and sit on the side. If you can't do it, go ahead and do everybody a favor, especially your friend, your hype man, Carmelo, and just go ahead and sit in the back. Stay in the back so there's no interference. But I feel like he will interfere, and it's not going to be good. And I feel like that interference will give Ilja the heads up, the advantage that he needs. And I hate that because I really do love Ilja, but I can see Carmelo being like, I've tried for the last couple of days, all the way up until now, and you want to take this time to actually still let your anger get the best of you and interrupt the match that I'm supposed to be in? No, I don't think that's how it's gonna go. So I feel like this is gonna go. I feel like it's gonna go right for Ilja, and I feel like it's gonna go wrong for Trick and Carmelo. And it's not Carmelo who's doing the damage; it's Trick.
And they talk about one of the most infamous lines they have in WWE comes from Booker T. He talks about you can make friends or you can make money. He checks and championships. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And and of course it's widely noted. Carmelo and Trick's friendship going way before wrestling, way before that, very similar to an Edge and Christian type of story. But at the same time, this is a situation where if Trick can't keep himself together, he needs to just let Melo do this one on his own. The question is, can Trick do that? Can Trick stay in the back or stay on the side and be able to do so? And I'm not convinced he can.
You gotta think he's hurt. So he probably will be on the side, be over there.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he still won't show up, and that could possibly be the worst thing that Carmelo could have. So our final selection of the evening, this one was actually pretty close when I last looked. I think Carmelo had a slight edge, but it was something like 52 to 48 or something. Like, this one is very close to being split down the middle and could come to those last couple of votes. But last one, match 7, so Kia, we're back around to you to open things up. Who walks out of Austin as NXT champion?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Ilja. The fact that I'm sitting here going against Carmelo is not a slight at him by any chance. He's been one of the best champions I think, honestly, I have seen in a long time. And that's nothing against anyone that came before him. But he comes to play. But I feel like Ilja is going to literally take his head off. Dismantle him. Like, dismember him.
I hope not literally.
Not literally. You get what I'm saying. I feel like Trick's going to play a role. I feel like it's going to end up all the way around bad for him. And I hate it for him. But maybe that's the way you get into the main roster. Or you get, like, Ilja with the belt or the title.
They've been doing the tease with Bobby Lashley,
That's
taking
right.
him out during that SmackDown. So there's been that tease there. So, maybe.
And let's go on the record with this whole facial, mustache, beard, and everything on Ilja. Now, yeah, you got one too, and Roman and Seth, as we discussed last night, Woo Woo and AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. But this man right here, woo, I'm all for it. I feel like that's going to give him his superpower somehow.
Good gracious. Okay, Ilja.
I also like Ilja. I hate it because Carmelo really has been the champion that I've wanted to see. He has absolutely been exactly what you would hope for him to do. But I think Ilja takes the title, and I think he is ready to take, and I think Carmelo is ready to go up to main roster because he's another one of those. The energy that he brings, like the way he can command the crowd,
Yeah.
and he's just in NXT. I'm so excited to see where his career goes. It's like the possibilities are endless.
And I love the idea of this, at least for me, being kind of a no harm, no foul kind of pick either, because, I have been sitting very much on the fence in terms of this one. But because each of you have taken Ilja, that gives me a little bit of a breath of relief to say that I'm going to take Ilja as well.
Yeah.
I see Carmelo's run not as one where it needs to be lengthy. I see Carmelo's being very similar to why they put it on Indy Hartwell.
Yep.
It's like, you put in the time, it's the only thing you have left to do.
Boom.
At this point, you get a couple of title defenses, you held it for almost 6 months.
Exactly.
At this stage, congratulations, but now bigger things are in your future. They've already been teasing him going up against Judgment Day. Maybe Finn plays a role in all of this, because maybe he's like, look, you're not getting the last laugh over me. You're not getting the last laugh over all this. And then maybe Melo shows up at SummerSlam and returns the favor. You never know if they potentially get involved. But ultimately, it doesn't matter which one of the different things we've talked about here. The chaos all negatively affects Carmelo.
Yeah.
And I even think that even if you took all of the distractions out of play, I still think Dragunov would have still been able to just outlast him
Yeah.
You know, because it's just like the man
Yeah,
just
the beast.
keeps just going, and he's like the Energizer Bunny.
Let's
Copyright.
Let's remember the match that he had with Gunther when
Both
they
of
just
them.
kept going and going and going, and you're like, okay, well, it's time for me to go to the bathroom. I gotta get up. I gotta go.
I'm like,
And-
how's this little man still fighting?
Right,
With
you
that
were just
energy.
you were just waiting for it to eventually end, but at the exact 1 hour mark of our recording, I'm gonna take Ilja as well. So we're all looking new champ here. Perfect. I will hand that to you then. So that ends our top rope spoilers here for NXT Great American Bash. How do you think we did? Are we right? Are we wrong? Make sure you go to our community page and throw in your 2 cents. Definitely make sure you take the time to let us know your thoughts, put in your votes. Of course, we have all of our social medias there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Canadian Twitter, whatever that. I've not much left of it there, though. Unfortunately, I think that one's kind of falling apart. Of course, you know, YouTube, this will post tomorrow, which would be today if you're watching it there. Of course, we're on TikTok because that's where you're watching us now. And, of course, the new Twitter X. You rebranded. Thank you, Elon, for that. But either way, last thoughts before we go into Sunday. Either way.
Excited.
I'm ecstatic. I wish I could be there because that is my hometown, and I do feel like there's great things. It's always bigger in Texas, so the bigger the energy, the better.
Exactly. So, you know, but hey, we do have a trip coming up. We'll be in Detroit for SummerSlam here in a little over a week, so be looking out for us. Did get a bit of news today in terms of something very special that's heading into our house, so later on this week, so there will be a very special plate exchange next week as well. We've got a couple of new champions to crown, but definitely some looks. Maybe we could finally get the ladies' show off the ground as we get headed into our into the one of the big four. So hopefully things work out, but this was On the Ring Apron. This was our top rope spoilers for Great American Bash. Hopefully everyone has themselves a great week, and we will catch y'all later on.
Bye.
Bye.